Tension permeated the Peace Hall aboard the neutral space station Cygnus Prime. The final round of negotiations between the Terran Alliance and the mighty Cthar Empire was moments from beginning. Representatives from various galactic species lined the observation galleries, whispering among themselves. Most believed they were about to witness yet another humiliation of humanity, the upstart species that had rapidly expanded into the stars over the past century. Ambassador Alara Vance of the Terran Alliance entered with measured steps, her simple navy blue diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the ornate armor worn by the Cthar delegation. Despite her ordinary appearance, there was something in her eyes, a quiet determination that belied her reputation for patience and sharp intellect. Beside her walked General Marcus Thorne, her military advisor, a stoic figure whose vigilant gaze constantly surveyed the room. The humans still believe they can negotiate with equals, a Vexlord diplomat whispered to his companion. How charmingly naive. For decades, the Cthar Empire had systematically encroached upon human colonies at the borders of Terran space. Despite being an ancient military power that controlled nearly a fifth of the galaxy, the Cthar viewed humanity as little more than noisy newcomers. Resources to be harvested, territory to be claimed. Previous peace talks had dissolved into humiliating retreats for the humans, with the Cthar imposing increasingly harsh demands. Lord Forlag, the Cthar ambassador, entered last. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, his exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial markings denoting countless victories. For secondary arms were folded in formal posture, while his primary limbs carried an ancient war staff, a deliberate breach of diplomatic protocol that no one dared mention. Ambassador Vance, Forlag's translator device, rendered his clicking speech into the galactic standard. I trust you have reconsidered your position since our last meeting. The Eternal Empire has little patience for repetition. Vance smiled politely. Lord Forlag, the Terran Alliance comes with new proposals we believe will benefit both our civilizations. We seek a sustainable peace based on mutual respect and clearly defined borders. The next 6 hours proceeded with meticulous detail. The human delegation presented comprehensive plans for demilitarized zones, trade agreements, and resolution mechanisms for future disputes. They brought evidence of Cthar raids on human settlements, requesting formal acknowledgement and reparations. Throughout it all, Forlag's posture became increasingly dismissive. The clicking sounds he made without activating his translator caused his aides to emit the Cthar equivalent of laughter. Finally, as the station's artificial day cycle began to dim, Forlag rose to his full height. Enough, he said, the translator barely keeping pace with his agitated speech patterns. The Cthar Empire has indulged these talks long enough. Your proposals are rejected in their entirety. A murmur ran through the observation galleries. Even the most pessimistic observers had expected some token concessions. Forlag's primary arms extended in the Cthar gesture of dominance. Instead, the High Command offers these terms: the immediate surrender of all Terran colonies within 50 light-years of Cthar space. The payment of tribute resources annually amounting to 20% of her total economic output. And formal recognition of Earth as a protectorate state under Cthar guidance. The gallery erupted in shocked whispers. Even by Cthar standards, these demands were extraordinary. Vance's expression remained unchanged. These terms would effectively end human sovereignty. They are not terms of peace, but of subjugation. They are terms befitting your position in the galactic order, Forlag said. Your species has existed among the stars for less than 2 centuries. The Cthar have ruled for 15,000 years. Your behavior is that of a child claiming equality with its elders. He stepped closer to the human delegation, a grave insult in diplomatic settings. Your ships are inferior. Your technology is derivative. Your military is untested against any true power. Accept these generous terms, or face the consequences of your pride. For the first time, emotion flickered across Vance's face. Not fear, but something colder. How long do we have to consider? She asked, her voice steady. Forlag made a dismissive gesture. The Cthar are generous. You have 30 standard days to begin implementation. after which we will enforce our claims." With that, he turned and strode from the peace hall, his delegation following without formal dismissal. Another calculated insult. General Thorne leaned toward Vance, whispering in her ear. She nodded once, gathered her materials, and addressed the remaining diplomats and observers. "The Terran Alliance thanks the galactic community for witnessing these proceedings," she said formally. "We will now return to Earth to consult with our government." As the human delegation departed, conversations exploded throughout the gallery. Most expressed pity for the humans, while others debated how quickly the Cthar would absorb Terran territories. None predicted what would actually follow. In the corridor, away from watching eyes, General Thorne finally spoke openly. "We tried," he said simply. "Yes," Vance replied, her voice now hard as steel. "We did. Send a message to Terran High Command. One word only: Aegis." The human delegation's departure from Cygnus Prime was unremarkable. Their diplomatic vessel slipped into FTL without ceremony, leaving behind a station buzzing with speculation about humanity's imminent capitulation or futile resistance. Within hours, news of the failed peace talks spread throughout the galaxy. Financial markets adjusted, with investments flowing away from human enterprises. Military analysts published predictions of how quickly the Cthar would establish dominance over key Terran systems. Cultural commentators lamented the likely loss of human artistic contributions to galactic society. On Cthar Prime, the Imperial Palace released commemorative artifacts celebrating Lord Forlag's diplomatic victory. The taming of Terra became an overnight cultural sensation, with immersive experiences allowing citizens to virtually participate in the anticipated subjugation of Earth. Everyone waited for the humans to make some desperate plea or a final diplomatic gambit. But there was nothing. For 3 standard weeks, the Terran Alliance issued no statements. Their diplomatic offices throughout the galaxy continued routine operations, but deflected all questions about the Cthar ultimatum. Human merchant vessels maintained normal trade routes. Military patrols continued their standard patterns. This silence puzzled many observers. Some speculated that the humans were in shock or that their government had collapsed in a factional infighting. Lord Forlag publicly suggested that they were cowering in their shelters, hoping reality might somehow change if ignored long enough. Behind this silence, however, the Terran High Command had activated the Aegis Protocol, a contingency plan developed and refined over decades, waiting for precisely this moment. In secure facilities deep beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Helena Sato addressed the commanders of humanity's hidden fleets. "For 30 years, we have prepared for this day. While our diplomats sought peace, we built the means to defend ourselves against any aggression, no matter how overwhelming it might appear." She activated a holographic display showing hundreds of vessels unlike any publicly known human design. The Cthar believe they know our capabilities. They believe our technology is what we have shown the galaxy. They are mistaken. Far from the sensors of any galactic power, stealth transports had been delivering personnel and equipment to predetermined coordinates for years. Manufacturing facilities disguised as mining operations had been producing advanced weaponry under the guise of resource extraction. Research installations hidden in dimensional pockets perfected technologies that most species believed were centuries beyond human capability. The Aegis Protocol's first phase had begun the moment Ambassador Vance sent her one-word message. Now, as the 3rd week of silence ended, Phase 2 prepared to commence. Across Cthar space, military commanders received increasingly troubling reports. Sensor outposts at the borders of Terran space detected no unusual activity. In fact, human patrol patterns remained frustratingly predictable and passive. And yet, something felt wrong. Commander Dravtak of Cthar Intelligence found himself unable to sleep, troubled by what his instincts told him. In his 8 centuries of military service, he had learned to trust those instincts. But when he presented his concerns to the Imperial Command, he was met with derision. "You attribute cunning to these primitives that they simply do not possess," the Grand Marshal had told him. Their silence is merely the confusion of prey realizing it has nowhere to flee. 29 days after the ultimatum, Kthar Orbital Defense Platform K-17, positioned in the Moraxis system, 18 light-years from Terran space, experienced a momentary power fluctuation. The duty engineer noted it in his log, but took no further action. Such minor anomalies were common in the ancient facility. Hours later, similar fluctuations were reported at 6 other major Kthar installations, all far from human territory. Technical teams began standard diagnostic procedures, finding nothing obviously wrong. Then communication hubs throughout Kthar space reported brief encryption failures, messages arriving without proper authentication codes, only to appear normal when retransmitted. Again, nothing alarming, just unusual. Commander Dravtak compiled these reports, searching for patterns where his colleagues saw only random technical glitches. When he overlaid the locations of all reported anomalies, they formed a distinct grid extending throughout Kthar space. Something or someone was testing defensive systems, communication protocols, and response times. He immediately requested an emergency session with the High Command, but was denied access. "The Imperium prepares for a glorious expansion," came the response. "Do not disturb the Grand Marshal with technical trivialities." On the 30th day after the ultimatum, exactly when the Kthar deadline expired, Lord Forlag prepared to address the galaxy from the Imperial Palace. The broadcast would announce the formal commencement of pacification operations against human worlds. The address never happened. At precisely 0300 Imperial Standard Time, synchronized attacks struck 542 critical Kthar military installations simultaneously. No warnings, no declarations, just precision strikes against command centers, power distribution hubs, communication arrays, and defense networks. The attackers were like ghosts, vessels that appeared from nowhere, delivered devastatingly accurate fire, and vanished before defensive systems could even identify them. Kthar sensors captured only glimpses, sleek, dark shapes with energy signatures unlike any known technology. These weren't the clumsy human ships that intelligence had documented. These were something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist. Within 6 hours, 60% of the Kthar military infrastructure was effectively disabled. Not destroyed. The attacks deliberately avoided casualties where possible, but precisely crippled. Weapons systems suddenly found their targeting computers inoperable. Communication networks transmitted only static. Defense shields flickered and died. The Kthar, a species that had conquered a fifth of the galaxy, found themselves unable to coordinate a response to an enemy they couldn't even detect. In the Imperial Palace, chaos reigned. The Grand Marshal demanded explanations no one could provide. Reports flooded in of installations going dark across Kthar space. But with communication systems compromised, no one could verify which reports were accurate and which were potential misinformation. Lord Forlag, whose ultimatum had triggered this calamity, found himself summoned before the Emperor, a rare and often fatal honor. "What manner of weapon have the humans deployed against us?" the Emperor demanded, his natural Kthar speech too complex for Forlag's translator to render properly. "Great one, we do not know," Forlag admitted. "Our intelligence indicated nothing of this capability. Nothing. You assured me they were primitives," the Emperor raged. "You claimed their technology was generations behind our own. Was all evidence supported." The Emperor cut him off with a gesture. "Evidence they allowed you to see, it seems." Meanwhile, throughout the galaxy, observers watched in stunned disbelief as the Kthar, feared for millennia as the galaxy's preeminent military power, were systematically dismantled by an invisible enemy. Speculation ran wild. Had some ancient species decided to intervene? Had the humans made a secret alliance with the mysterious Axiom Collective? No one suspected the truth, that humanity alone was responsible for what was now being called the Ghost Strike. In the attack's aftermath, Kthar military analysts discovered something puzzling. At various disabled installations, small data packets had been inserted into local networks. When decoded, they contained only a simple image. Earth's ancient symbol of a shield, the Aegis, along with a timestamp marking the moment the Cathar ultimatum had been delivered at Cygnus Prime. The message was clear. This was a human response, and it had been planned long before the Cathar had made their demands. For a full standard week after the Ghost Strike, the humans maintained their silence. The Cathar scrambled to restore their systems, but found themselves plagued by inexplicable failures. Backup systems crashed. Restored networks collapsed again within hours. Emergency protocols activated defensive measures against phantom targets, wasting precious resources. Commander Dravtak, now hastily promoted to oversee the crisis response, realized the awful truth. The humans hadn't just attacked. They had infiltrated Cathar systems at a fundamental level, perhaps years earlier. They weren't fighting a conventional war. They were conducting what ancient texts would have called a systematic dismantling. On the 8th day after the Ghost Strike, when the Cathar had exhausted themselves with futile countermeasures, every communication device throughout the galaxy activated simultaneously. Emergency broadcast protocols, designed for extinction-level events, were triggered across all technologies regardless of origin or security measures. The face that appeared was Ambassador Alara Vance, sitting at a simple desk. Behind her stood General Thorne and several other high-ranking human officials. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice calm and measured. "I speak to you on behalf of the Terran Alliance. 8 days ago, in response to threats against our sovereignty, we were forced to demonstrate a fraction of our true capabilities. Screens throughout the galaxy displayed footage of the Ghost Strike, imagery that couldn't possibly have been captured by external sources. It had been recorded by the attacking vessels themselves, showing Cathar defenses failing against weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. For over 30 years, while seeking peaceful coexistence, humanity has secretly prepared for the eventuality that peace might not be possible," Vance continued. "What you witnessed was Phase 2 of the Aegis Protocol, a limited demonstration designed to establish undeniable proof of our capabilities without causing unnecessary loss of life. The display shifted to technical schematics of technologies most galactic scientists had deemed theoretical at best: gravity manipulation drives, dimensional phasing systems, energy weapons that operated on principles no known physics could explain. The Cathar Empire and others have consistently underestimated humanity based on what we have chosen to reveal," Vance said. "This was a strategic decision on our part, to develop in secret while presenting a less advanced facade to potential adversaries." Her expression hardened slightly. "We now reveal this deception because circumstances demand it. The Ghost Strike disabled military infrastructure only. It was a measured response, a warning. Phase 3 of the Aegis Protocol, should it become necessary, would not be so limited." The display shifted again, showing simulations of entire star systems being rendered uninhabitable through means too terrible to comprehend. Cathar worlds, their distinctive architecture clearly recognizable, dissolving into component atoms. Spatial rifts consuming fleet formations. Technologies that violated the most fundamental laws of physics as understood by galactic science. Across the galaxy, viewers watched in horror. Many refused to believe what they were seeing, claiming the images must be falsified. But the evidence of the Ghost Strike was undeniable, and if humans had concealed those capabilities, what else might they be hiding? "The Terran Alliance does not seek dominion," Vance continued. "We do not desire the subjugation of other species or the annexation of territories beyond our legitimate claims. We want only what we have always wanted: to exist in peace, to trade fairly, and to develop our civilization without threat or interference." She leaned forward slightly, her gaze seeming to find each viewer individually. "But let me be absolutely clear. Any further aggression against human worlds or interests will trigger an immediate and proportional response. We will defend ourselves with the full measure of our capabilities if forced to do so." Vance then outlined new terms for galactic engagement with humanity. The Cathar would immediately withdraw from all contested border regions. A new regulatory body would be established to oversee disputed territories, with representatives from multiple species, not just humans and Cthar. And most significantly, a verification regime would be implemented to ensure compliance. These terms are not negotiable, she concluded. They are the foundation of a new relationship based on the reality of our respective positions. We await formal acceptance within 48 standard hours. The broadcast ended, leaving an unprecedented silence across all communication channels. In the Imperial Palace on Cthar Prime, emergency sessions convened immediately. Military commanders argued for a counterattack, insisting the human demonstration must have exhausted their capabilities. Intelligence officers countered that they had no way to verify what resources the humans actually possessed. Commander Dravtak, studying the technical data from the Ghost Strike, offered his assessment. The precision and coordination of their attacks suggest this was indeed a limited demonstration. If they had wished to destroy us, they could have. I believe they have shown perhaps 10% of their true military capacity. The debate raged for hours until the Emperor himself intervened. Ancient and cunning, he had ruled the Cthar for millennia by recognizing when to advance and when to retreat. We have been deceived, he acknowledged, not by human lies, but by our own arrogance. We saw what we expected to see, a young species struggling with technologies we mastered ages ago. We failed to consider that they might develop along entirely different technological paths. His decision was unexpected but decisive. The Cthar Empire would accept the human terms in their entirety. Not from fear, he insisted to his stunned council, but from strategic necessity. We will withdraw, regroup, and reassess. The humans have won this confrontation, but history is long, and the Cthar are patient. Throughout the galaxy, reactions varied wildly. Some species viewed the humans with newfound terror, a seemingly benign civilization that had concealed world-ending technologies while smiling across negotiating tables. Others saw potential protectors against Cthar expansionism. Trade routes shifted overnight. Diplomatic missions to Earth increased tenfold. Scientific delegations arrived seeking collaboration, their true purpose transparent, to gain insight into human technological advancement. When the Cthar formally accepted the human terms 2 days later, a new peace conference was convened. This time, Lord Forlag was absent, replaced by a more moderate representative. Ambassador Vance led the human delegation again, but the power dynamic had shifted completely. Where once humans had been supplicants, now they were the architects of a new galactic order. The resulting treaty became known as the Pax Humana, not because humans ruled, but because their revealed power had fundamentally altered the calculus of galactic politics. Smaller species previously bullied by larger empires now sought human protection. The Cthar and other major powers found their territorial ambitions constrained not by force, but by the mere possibility of human intervention. 6 months after the Ghost Strike, Ambassador Vance stood at the observation deck of the newly established Concordat station, built in neutral space as headquarters for the verification regime. General Thorne joined her, both of them watching ships from a dozen species navigate the busy approach lanes. Was it worth it? Thorne asked quietly. Revealing what we did, Vance considered the question. We maintained the deception as long as possible. We sought peace through conventional means with absolute sincerity. When those efforts failed, we had no choice but to demonstrate enough capability to ensure our security. And the rest? The technologies we still haven't revealed. Those remain our insurance policy, she said. The galaxy respects us now, perhaps fears us a little, but they don't truly understand us yet. The peace we've established is based on deterrence, not trust. Building genuine trust will take generations. Some say we've become what we fought against, Thorne noted. That power like ours will inevitably corrupt. Vance turned to face him. That's why the Aegis Protocol included Phase 4 from the beginning, the limitation of our own power through distributed oversight. No single human leader can activate our most advanced systems without multilateral approval. We learn from history what others never did. That unchecked power threatens those who wield it as much as those it's wielded against. Below them, a Cthar diplomatic vessel docked alongside ships from the Vexlor Ascendancy and the Ieran worlds, species that had been in conflict for centuries, now cautiously engaging under human supervision. "This is just the beginning," Vance said. "The hardest part isn't winning the power to shape events. It's exercising that power with wisdom and restraint over time. The Cthar ruled through fear for millennia, and look where it got them. We must forge something more durable. And if we fail," Thorne asked. She smiled faintly. "Then we'll deserve whatever comes next. But I don't think we will fail." The Ghost Strike wasn't just a demonstration of technology. It was evidence of human patience, planning, and proportionality. Those same qualities will serve us well in peace. Together, they watched as representatives from 26 species entered the Concordat chamber for the inaugural session of the new Galactic Council. Humans had 6 seats of 100, significant but intentionally limited. "The trembling peace," Thorne murmured, referencing what galactic media had taken to calling the New Order. "Yes," Vance agreed. "It trembles because it's new and untested. But with care and commitment, trembling can give way to stability." Years passed, and the immediate shock of the Ghost Strike gradually faded into historical memory. The technologies humans had revealed became subjects of intense study, pushing galactic science in new directions. The technologies they hadn't revealed remained the subject of fearful speculation and occasional conspiracy theories. The Cthar, true to their emperor's word, withdrew and reassessed. Their civilization, forced to look inward for the first time in millennia, began a slow transformation, not toward human values, but toward a more sustainable version of their own cultural ideals. Some younger Cthar even began studying human history, fascinated by how a species could advance so quickly while maintaining such effective secrecy. Throughout human space, debate continued about their new role in galactic affairs. Some argued they should reveal all their capabilities and establish a more transparent relationship with other species. Others insisted that strategic ambiguity remained their best protection. The compromise, a gradual sharing of technologies judged least likely to destabilize galactic security, satisfied neither extreme but served the greater good. On the 10th anniversary of the Ghost Strike, a memorial was unveiled on Cygnus Prime, site of the failed peace talks that had triggered the crisis. Its inscription, written in all major galactic languages, read simply, "Peace through strength is possible. Peace through understanding is better." Ambassador Vance, now significantly older and serving as Earth's senior diplomat to the Galactic Concordat, attended the unveiling. So did a representative of the Cthar, not a lord or commander, but a scholar named Tilvek who had written extensively about the human deception and its implications for interspecies relations. After the ceremony, they found themselves alone in the same chamber where Lord Forlag had delivered his ultimatum a decade earlier. "Our historians still debate," Tilvek said, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into smooth standard language, "whether you humans planned this outcome from the beginning. Whether the diplomatic efforts were merely a pretense while you prepared your true response." Vance shook her head. "We genuinely sought peace. The Aegis Protocol was developed in parallel, not as our primary strategy, but as our final recourse. We hoped never to implement it. Yet you prepared it so thoroughly," the Cthar noted. "Decades of secret development, infrastructure hidden throughout the galaxy, technologies advancing along paths no one anticipated." "Because hope is not a strategy," Vance replied, "especially when dealing with an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds before humans left our atmosphere." Tilvek made a gesture the translator identified as pensive acknowledgement. "A fair assessment. We Cthar might have done the same in your position." He paused. "The difference, perhaps, is that we would have used such power for conquest once revealed. That remains the fundamental difference between our species," Vance agreed, "though perhaps not an immutable one." As they parted ways, Tilvek offered a final observation. "The galaxy fears what else you might be hiding, Ambassador. Is that fear justified?" Vance smiled diplomatically. "I suppose that depends on whether the peace holds, doesn't it?" The trembling peace did hold, though not without challenges. Decades passed. New generations grew up in a galaxy where humans were viewed not as upstarts, but as enigmatic arbiters. The technologies revealed after the Ghost Strike revolutionized travel, communication, energy production, but rumors persisted of even more advanced human capabilities held in reserve, whispered about, but never confirmed. What no species ever discovered was whether the simulations Vance had shown, of star systems being unmade and reality itself being warped, represented actual human capabilities or the most brilliant bluff in galactic history. The humans themselves seemed content to leave that question unanswered, understanding that sometimes the possibility of power achieves what its exercise cannot. Perhaps the most profound change was philosophical. For millennia, galactic civilization had operated on the principle that technological advancement proceeded along predictable paths, that older species were inherently more advanced, that military power correlated with age and territorial control. Humanity had shattered those assumptions entirely. Younger species looked to Earth with hope, seeing a model for rapid advancement outside the shadow of ancient empires. Older species studied human history with newfound respect, recognizing the strategic genius in appearing less capable than one truly is. And throughout all, human ships continued to patrol their borders, maintaining the careful balance between openness and vigilance that had become their hallmark in galactic affairs. Their ghost fleets, now partially revealed but still shrouded in mystery, remained a powerful deterrent against any who might contemplate aggression. On Earth itself, in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, the core systems of the Aegis Protocol remained operational, constantly updated, continuously improved. Not from paranoia or militarism, but from the hard-won understanding that peace, however desirable, must sometimes be guaranteed by the capacity for decisive action. The humans had terrified the galaxy, yes, but in doing so, they had also transformed it. Whether that transformation would ultimately lead to a genuine peace based on mutual understanding or merely a prolonged standoff remained to be seen. But for now, the stars were quiet, and diplomats talked where warships once would have engaged. A trembling peace, perhaps, but peace nonetheless.